right, coaches, thanks very much for tuning in DSS Locker Room Podcast. We have Paddy Burns with us tonight. Paddy, Armagh, Ultan, Harney, Roscommon. Both boys were involved in the rules testing games, the interprovincial series on Friday and Saturday past. We have Ronan O'Neill joining us in a few moments. Ronnie's running a wee bit late with time, and I know the two boys are under pressure with time, as am I. So we're gonna crack into this, lads. Lads, look, we'll start off. I'm just going to read you out this quickly. Colin Collins. We all know Colin was with Clare for 10 years. Patrick Doherty, Eamon Fitz, obviously huge success with Kerry. Shane Flanagan, brilliant coach from Kildare. Jim Galvin speaks for himself. James Horn, Alex McQuillan, Michael Meany, Michael Murphy, Colin Nally, Malachy O'Rourke. So we have a serious array of footballing brains. These rules just haven't been sort of plucked out of obscurity, lads. There's obviously been a lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of effort has gone into them, a lot of planning. I know that the guys on Friday and Saturday were decked out in their football review committee gear, and so it's a project, lads, that has been taken very, very seriously. And obviously the interprovincial series was used at the weekend to obviously fire these rules out, to the GA public. I would just like to start with yourself, Paddy. Obviously, as a defender, I suppose a defender hates two things, Paddy. He hates space and pace, and I know you've plenty of pace yourself, but from a defender's point of view, did you find the game completely different? And I know, obviously, circumstances, Paddy, there was nothing really at stake as such, but did you find there was a lot more one-on-one defending as such on Friday and Saturday past?
Do you know what, Stevie? I think since the game, the more I've reflected on it, the more I didn't feel it as different as I maybe thought it would. But in part, I think that's because the last three games of the season with Armagh were in Croke Park, obviously, and then this game again was in Croke Park, and you're not going to get much more space in a pitch as it is than playing in Croker. And like when I think back to the last few games of the county season, we were playing against Galway, who do tend to leave men up at times. Playing against Roscommon, they had one of the fiercest inside lines of the year. They were all really firing well, and Kerry, goes without saying. So I think because teams drop so many players back, and so the opposition have to commit a lot of players to the attack to try and break them down. Anytime we turn ball over, we are kind of already exposed back there. If the opposition gets a quick attack on. Now, in saying that, the option for quick attack was there more often at the weekend, but I suppose in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is one-to-one defending probably on those big pitches in the big games, it can happen more often than people maybe think.
Yeah.
You look at our Ulster final against Donegal, and you look at our semi-final against Kerry, or even the final against Galway a few times. There's plenty of times where I've been back there 1v1 or 2v2, and the space exists. This just kind of, it stops that full 14 or 15 transitioning the whole way back en masse. It makes it 11 or 12, but it's still hard to break down, I think.
Yeah, because ultimately, like Paddy in training, like you would set up a lot of 12v12 games anyway, a lot of a lot of overload games, and coaches now are thinking, it's going to be a lot of 12v12 stuff, 11v11, and I suppose the key now is obviously the goalkeepers have a role to play in it now, Paddy, are coming out and trying to create that +1, it's going to be now who probably defends the best with 11, isn't it? Like, more or less. Like,
yeah, the difficulty for me more, like, I suppose I as a defender do enjoy the man-to-man element of it to an extent, Stevie. There's
of course.
there's plenty of defenders now who are very, very good at attacking and maybe haven't done as much work on the defensive side of things, and there's a real benefit to that. I enjoy the defensive end of things, but I did get great joy this year from getting up the pitch a fair bit too, and setting up a few scores, and that's where it felt a bit more restrictive, and I was a wee bit more frustrated with it, that you're getting towards the halfway line, sort of ready to back up and attack, and realize, oh, I can't actually go here. You look around, you glance, you see, right, we've only got two, and I have to stay at home. So I think that's where it'll be a bit more frustrating for some defenders, is the inability to get involved in the game when the ball breaks into the other half of the pitch.
Yeah. I suppose, some interesting points from Paddy there, particularly the one of the, the restriction on movement, because obviously, as a sport, Gaelic football was one of the very few invasion games, Ultan, that didn't restrict movement. Now you have that restriction of movement. Certainly, the three forwards being left up the field. Roscommon are synonymous with good forwards. Ultan, the likes of Enda, the likes of Kane, the likes of Donny, the likes of the numerous forwards, even the likes of Ben O'Carroll has come through there recently. Brilliant, brilliant forwards. This is probably something that maybe Roscommon will suit Roscommon, because I know Padraig Joyce was very vocal about how it might suit Galway. Is it something like, how did you find your initial foray into it? Like, how did you find it?
Yeah, so I suppose, look, a lot of what Paddy's saying is I'd agree 100% with, for sure. From a scrum perspective, like, yeah, you touched on it there, Stevie, and you've worked with a lot of them lads, you know what they've got. And I know, I was speaking to them boys, they'd much rather be left up the pitch and doing what they're doing all their lives, as opposed to chasing ball back. But
well, hey, Big Cox doesn't like to chase back, so that'll suit him.
I won't comment. He's not the only one, don't worry. But yeah, like I suppose I was playing around the middle at the weekend there. I was playing centre half back, and like Paddy, there was times I was caught and I was restricted in our trial game or training game last week. We trained on Ballyhonus as a group the first time we met. I end up being caught back there, and you're kind of mad to go, and you're standing on the line itching to go, and you're looking around, you're trying to get someone to come back for you. So there is that, and that does take getting used to. And I suppose when managers get their hands on that, they might, that might suit them, and they might nominate three lads to stay back, three forward, or else keep it fluid. We don't know. I suppose that's something that will show. Coming out, kind of playing half back, one thing I noticed, I suppose, was the kick pass is always on, or there's an option to, certainly. But bear in mind, Croke Park, as Paddy touched on, Paddy did a good run out in Croke Park last year on a few occasions. Croke Park plays different to every other pitch also, and a couple of more rules which we'll get to. I think it was a false pretense in Croke Park. But yeah, look, if I was to make a judgment, it'd probably be in more favour of it. It will take getting used to, but it probably wouldn't more. I'd be more appealing to me. I think it will open up the game, but like from attack or from defensive perspective, you are going to need to keep men back. You can't just keep a sole 3v3 back there in your own defence, or you want to get out alive in Croke Park. You're going to have a +1, at times a +2. So you could end up having 5-on-3 in your own half, plus a goal. It could be 6-on-3, and you're going to leave yourself very, very short of top 10. So it's going to be interesting to see what way that pans out, and if to do make tweaks to it. But yeah, it was like, hopefully it'll suit us. We'll see. But yeah, it was a bit of a change. But as Paddy said, I don't think. I think we got to grips with it. It wasn't a massive change. Reviewing the weekend as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It ended up being, it kind of gelled, and lads got to grips with it, and it was kind of more fluid as the weekend went on, surprisingly. So yeah, it wasn't a massive deal, I don't think.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a great point out they made about Croke Park, like, because obviously you may know better than anyone, particularly yourself, Paddy, this year. Like, Croke Park, people think it plays bigger. I don't think it plays bigger at all. It plays faster, and that's the key. Like, it's such a fast pitch. Whereas when you go into January, February in the depths of the National League, the game's going to be naturally a little bit slower. The ball's not going to move as slick. Like, it's nearly like playing nearly on a 4G, on a slippy, greasy 4G in comparison to a muddy field. So, certainly from that perspective, the speed of the game, Paddy, was obviously immense at the weekend. Like, immense.
But again, so Ultan, I'll steal your language there. You said it was a bit of a false pretense. Like, you have to remember, the weekend was, for want of a better phrase, it was a PR exercise, and that this was show it at its best. So we had rolling subs, which aren't part of the proposal at the minute, to make sure that everybody had good energy and kept the game going fast. We had the Croke Park pitch. We had most of the best players in the country playing in the provincial teams. So it was always going to be the best version of what this can be, I think, or very close to it. The weather on Saturday evening as well, for October, was spot on. So this it was a brilliant game. I've no doubt that for the neutral, it was a brilliant game to watch. But I suspect that would have been a fairly decent game in the old rules too.
Yeah, I agree.
It would have been a good game to watch, regardless of what rules were played. And I'm sounding quite negative there. I'm actually with Ultan in that I'm supportive of trying a few things. I'm supportive of trying the 3v3. I'm not saying for a second that I'm not, but I just think if people expect that that's how it's going to look from now on in every game, I'd be very surprised if they all play it like that, especially as you say in February or March. Like Ultan said as well, one of the differences for him in the middle third was that, you know, the kick was always on.
Yeah.
I found on Friday night in particular, the kick was on, but fellas were trying it every time. And you know, when it comes to a real game where the result matters, a lot of those kicks won't actually happen. But
the other thing, Paddy, just consider as well is the quality of the player that was on show over the weekend. Obviously, we're some of the top players in the country who are able to do that and are able to execute those skills. Whereas, you know, some players maybe at a lesser level, particularly even club level, you know, don't have that array of skills in their locker. You know, but interesting. Come back to your Sheffield there. It's great to have Ronnie on. Ronnie, very welcome, boy. Thanks very much for coming on. Ronan was obviously part of the Ulster setup at the weekend, currently coaching for Fermanagh. Like Ronnie Ultan made a very good point, like, and you know, he's talking about these cynical you know, sneaky coaches that are going to come in now and, you know, start to look at it and examine ways in which they can, you know, manipulate the rules and bend the rules slightly in their favor. But like, this is the thing, Ronnie, it's like basketball, it's like rugby, it's like soccer. You know, every game evolves, and no matter what rules come in, there's always going to be, you know, somebody thinking outside the box. Like I was thinking, for example, the arc, Ronnie, you know, where you have the basketball type thing of like Stephen Curry, for example, who posts himself up around the scoring arc in basketball. Are you going to have your 2-point shooters hovering around there, creating a situation where maybe you're driving falsely into a corner, springing it back out to a 2-point shooter? You know, is that the way it's going to go? Is there, like, have you thought of anything, Ronnie, that you've seen at the weekend from a coaching perspective? Obviously, because you're there looking at the game differently to the boys that are playing. Like,
yeah, well, I suppose the weekend there, it's very hard to sit down and think, you know, what way should they set up, or what way should we set up, or like, or you're probably thinking selfishly in the back of your head, would this work with maybe Fermanagh or someone else you're working with? But it's very hard to think at the time, because all you want to do with the boys is just get them out and get them used to playing Croke Park and getting used to the new rules as such as you can, and then adding like just little small snippets on the Friday and then a little bit on the Saturday then too. So what we found on the Friday night, that it was absolutely frantic and just manic in terms of boys were just trying new rules and looking to kick ball and get after the ball and, you know, kick from this angle and kick from that angle. Where on the Saturdays we sort of probably went with a bit more of a measured approach in terms of, let's get up the pitch quick, but when we get inside their 65 or inside their midfield line, just play the game that you've been normally playing. So as the game was about conserving energy, granted, the players were playing 2 games inside 24 hours, so that was a little bit of it too, in terms of let's just work it a wee bit smarter up front. And as Paddy probably and Ultan probably alluded to, that boys were kicking ball from maybe too deep in the first game, whereas the second game we were asking the boys, can we get the 30 or 40 meter kick pass that's on the advantage of the forward, in terms of they're not winning the ball. So I remember Rain kicked the ball in the first half of the Munster game, and it was kicked to O'Michael Home, but when O'Michael Home won the ball, he was on the sideline. Do you know, yes, it was a 3v3, but sure, it's no advantage. Defenders was all right, keep them out there because the ball's just recycled after that. But it was more so the fact that could they get inside the 45 and look for that 30 kick pass to 3v3 inside, or to the advantage of a forward of a mark inside. I say because Kieran Mina would say that the game is going to evolve anyway. Like, you know, you probably will see teams who have, like, I'm looking at just Paddy, Armagh, like they have Rain, they've Oisin, they've Neill, Grimley out around the middle there. You know, Stephen Campbell. It might be a ploy that they come up with. There might be teams here who think that they can't kick from 40 metres out, and they'll just keep chipping away at 1-pointers and 1-pointers and 1-pointers. That'll maybe like a 4-pointer, if it comes in, will materialise then. Do you know as well, or teams will practice that as the months go on. But I'm sure you'll see coaches, no doubt, come up with set plays and come up with tactics, you know, that's going to utilise the strengths of their squad. Like, so there's enough smart coaches in the business now that they're starting to plan for that process.
Yeah, and just if we go, like, I'm gonna just go through them here quickly, like, and we'll just breeze over some of them, lads. But some of so 1v1 throwing it. You're obviously a player who has found himself around the middle of the field in games in the past. You know, in open working, you're a real competitor, and you like that 1-to-1 duel, like the 1-to-1 throw-in at the start of the game. Is there any thoughts on that? Like, does it really matter? Well, the position of the two players is interesting on sideline.
Yeah, my biggest change to it, I would be in favour of it. But my biggest change would be his position of the two guys. Where did that now? I seen Aidan O'Shea was referring to it somewhere there last night or the day before. Of maybe having like a bigger centre circle or something, and the two lads stand wherever the hell they want outside that. The position is probably. It probably is tweaking. The 1v1, I would be supportive of. Look, I would have been in throw-ins over the last couple of years, and honestly, you could they're death. You're going to get killed in there because two lads are just wrestling, and you're standing under two fellas who are jumping over you with elbows and knees in the back of the head. So it's carnage. And I think one of the things James Horn said was every game starts with a foul. Traditionally over the last 3 or 4 years, and they've got more cynical where I'm grabbing the lad next to me and I'm trying to grab the lad jumping. So I'd be in support of that. But the tweaking of where they stand is probably the thing there if they want to keep that going.
I remember big John O'Loughlin and Kieran Lillis, two midfielders for Laois a number of years ago. And John O used to just wrestle with a man, and Lillis would go up nearly with a karate kick. And that's true, he nearly karate kicked the man, but he got away with it because it was a throw-in, you know, and it was it was the maddest throw-in routine.
It is, yeah. So look, I would be in favour of it, but just tweak where the boys' position, because that at the minute is a bit off.
So I suppose, lads, we'll just quickly the 40-metre scoring arc, Paddy. And the scoring system included into that, like 4 for a goal. I think there's talk of that going, which I think is good. Okay, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I don't see myself troubling the 40-metre scoring arc, but the 4 for a goal, I felt on Saturday night in particular, it sort of showed it up as overpowered. Like we kicked a lot of scores, and I want a goal rewarded, and Ultan's mate Martha, you know, when a boy puts it in the stanchion, you know, I'd nearly give him 5 points. Fair play to him. But we kicked a lot of scores and a lot of good scores and a few goals, and it just completely changes the complexion of a game. I think a couple of early goals, like they got against a lesser team, and that game's over straight away when it's worth points. So I do think that's too much. But the downside then of knocking it down to 3 and keeping the 2 points is it worth the effort of trying to get in there for a goal anymore if you can just get it to the arc for 2 points? So that I do understand where the FRC were coming from, that some of these rules were interlinked. You know, you as I say, you drop it to 3. Is the risk reward there then for getting in? It's hard to know. The 2
it's nearly one of the two, Paddy, isn't it? It's nearly one of the two. It has to go like either the high reward for the goal or take away the 2 for the arc, whatever, you know. And
but I actually think, you know, the 3v3 inside is maybe enough. Do we need to start tweaking the scoring? And let's, like, Ultan might disagree with me here, and I'm open to correction on it. Again, I listened to Jim Gavin's arguments about it after the game. I did the press with him, and he was talking about how, you know, if you don't have the 2-point arc, then teams will just sit in the same way, and it makes those shots from outside the defensive zone difficult, and they're only worth 1s. You want to offer a benefit and then suck teams out and provide the space in behind, and it all makes sense. It all adds up.
Yeah.
But you know, we're talking about huge fundamental changes in the history of our game already, with the 3v3 having to stay up, and it's just, you know, we're talking about a lot here, a lot in one go.
And Ronnie, like the arc itself, like as Paddy said, like Paddy alluded to it, when you're starting to draw new lines on the field and you're starting to introduce new scoring systems, like you're starting to delve into now, you know, real deep issues, like, aren't you? Like, you know,
I definitely, and like I would say it's one or the other for me. Like I would say it's either we go with a 2-point arc or we go with a 4-pointer for the goal, like so we do. Like it's not really like I felt over the weekend none of the defenders were ever burnt in a 1v1, or I thought the defending actually was quite good from a man-on-man perspective. It was more so the runners coming from deep, because there's more space now that creates the goal opportunities. So I feel as if they bring in both, as Paddy said there, if Dublin play Wexford in the first round of the Leinster Championship and they rattle in 3 goals, it's game over. 2 goals, it's game over. Do you know? Now, not necessarily
I get in, Ronnie. I get in the other night, 15 minutes or about 13 minutes into the first quarter of the Connacht Leinster game, right? And I looked at the scoreboard. I think it was like 112 to like 0-2 or something like that. And I was like, how's that possible? And then somebody said to me, "Oh, Connacht had a goal straight away and 4 2-pointers or whatever." You know, and I was thinking, just that's game over, like, you know, it's game over. Like, it was like 12-2 or 12-1, like, and it was like, geez, that's it gone, you know.
And it's very false to Saturday night there. Like, you know, it's a nice night. You know, there's no wind. Like, you go to Ballybofey on the 14th of February, there's probably a gale force breeze. You know, Blaine Hughes trying to kick a ball out against a gale force breeze, or Conor Garrett's trying to kick a ball out down in Castlebar or down in Toome. You know, and you're under pressure and you can't kick a ball short. So you have to go long and you can't win anything in the midfield. And next thing you know, 2 passes later, it's in the back of the net. And you're thinking, so how the fuck are we going to get out of this? Do you know that way? So there's a few things I would change, but you know, I like the majority of them. So
well, the kickouts, just to move on to the kickouts then, because we were talking about the arc, we're talking about the 2 points, the 4 points, like, so the kickouts then, like, obviously I was chatting to Neill. Neill was meant to get on this for a while, but he's under big pressure. But I was chatting to him, and one thing that he said, and he was happy for me to share it, was that he's delighted. And Paddy, you know yourself as a defender, you sometimes find yourself in close to goal. The keeper's rushing out to get a kick out away. The likes of Neill and these top keepers, you know, Blaine, and we've talked about even Cluxton revolutionised the whole kick out thing. They're out in about 5-6 seconds and the ball's down, and sometimes defenders are maybe, you know, trailing themselves out past the 21. Keeper gets a brilliant short kick out away, and the ref blows his whistle for a hot ball because everyone's not outside the D or they're not outside the 21. It's fucking hugely frustrating, you know, even from a coaching perspective, it's hugely frustrating. Like, so from the kick out, one of the things Neill said, Ultan, was that he's delighted at the fact that he can just grab a ball, sprint out, get it down, and get it away without having to worry about what's behind him or who's there. But from your point of view, you like battles, you like that one-to-one combat. Like, obviously delighted from this point of view that the kick out more or less has to go into. A lot of kickouts are going to be contests now. They're going to be contests.
I'm torn on it, to be honest, because there is nothing as frustrating as a corner forward dragging his heels coming out and the goalie are waiting on 21 and the ref not really doing anything, and the ref's kind of tied because he is half jogging out. I suppose one of the things the guys at FRC want to do was speed up the game, and at the minute I think that kickouts are slowing up big time because you have to wait for everybody to go out, which doesn't really make much sense. When they can't receive it, they're doing nobody any harm. Stay the hell wherever you want. But then on the other side, they are trying to promote contests, so it's a catch-22. They want to move the game quick, but they want to promote contests around the middle, which don't really add up. I think my biggest problem with it is the arc. I think the arc, again, we were talking about Croke Park on Saturday night. Lovely day, no wind, no rain, and you've got some of the best goalies in the country, probably the 4, 5, 6 best goalies in the country, bar a few, especially Neill at the minute, you know, and it's grand. They'll find space in Croke Park, and they did. But your lads you're talking about Ballybofey and these places on the first weekend of February, and there's a gale force breeze, and like you've seen some of the club games there the weekend, they shouldn't have went ahead. The goal posts were rattling with wind. You're not going to get a ball out beyond that arc. You just aren't going to. It's not going to happen. You know, and then what happens?
Touch Portugal.
Yeah. So I'd be in favour of getting the kick away. But I am torn, to be honest. I think it's probably a bit much, but again, I do love contests, so I like, and lots of most midfielders do. That's why they're, you know, they grew up doing that. But I'd probably be against the arc, and I would be in favour of getting the ball in the tee and getting it out. And whoever's behind you is behind you. Who cares? That's probably where I stand on it, to be honest. Because Croke Park, again, like, it was very false pretense, and I think the kickouts was the big one there. There was there was very little battles in the kickouts on Saturday and Friday night.
You mentioned Ballybofey and that, like, it's your place very close to you, Salt Hill. Like, you go to Salt Hill.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a gale force wind, you know.
Like, it's just it's physically not possible to get a ball beyond that arc. It's not. In some days I played in them, and you know what do you do then?
Ultan, just even when you talk about the battle for kickouts, like, I'm obviously not out in that middle third to know how it feels But to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but when the goalies are putting it down and having to essentially lump it long, it's not even, they want to see high fielding and people getting great catches. To me, it doesn't really allow for that, because it's 3-4 bodies overload and it's scrappy break ball, you know.
Absolutely, and it is. It's just no feeling as it is, even in long kickouts. And I think you're going to have more bodies out there and hanging balls up. They're not going to happen. It's just going to be break. I think the way the game has gone and progressed and evolved over years, guys just aren't going up fielding kickouts anymore. They're few and far between. And it's unfortunate, but it's not going to really come back. And I agree fully with you, Paddy. There, yeah, on that point. So yeah, it's a funny one, but yeah, I'd agree where Paddy summed up perfectly. It's not really happening as is, and I don't think it's going to change. Making lads contest, you're throwing an extra 2 or 3 bodies in, and everyone knows the ball is going long if the arc is there. So the full forward is just going to come out and get into that zone, and it's going to be 3 or 4 extra bodies. Someone's going to get killed. There's no clean catching.
Yeah.
You could probably count one hand. You could probably count one hand when people actually caught a high kick out the other day.
Yeah.
It wasn't that many now, to be fair. It was more so when Neill or Conor Gleeson or Conor Carroll or Cluxton put the ball down, it was someone who's breaking out over the top. That was looking like, I remember Kieran Thompson won the first half and against Munster. Those are the ones that they probably will materialise a bit more because there's more space maybe. But what I would say is that why not go back to the short kick out but still not go back to keeper?
Yeah.
We
can still go. Like the keeper's not in play. Like keeper's not in play. It still promotes that man on man. Defenders taking on maybe an extra, like taking on your forward. Just means then when we go to play against the Gale Force piece, we can still kick the ball. The ball can still be kicked short. Just the keeper still not in play. You know, so it defeats the pepper. So you can still do your work, your presses. You can still go man to man. You still go zonal. You know, there's still an opportunity to get the ball out rather than maybe run the risk of kicking along, not getting outside the 40-metre arc, and then you're punished then for a 13-metre free.
Yeah, Neill made the point, Ronnie. Neill made the point of maybe just, forget about the arc and just take the kick out from the 14-metre line. You can still get out quick. You don't have to wait for the players to get out, but the ball has to go outside the 21 of the D. And that still allows you to have a strategy. An out ball or a short kick out, like.
I would agree with that, Ty. I would. I still think it's go short. Yeah, you still go short. Nobody has to wait on anybody. Get the ball out, and I do think too now keepers will probably still look, as Neill and Rory Bagan, we'll still look further ahead before short anyway, because there's more spaces now that people are still caught behind them. There's more spaces. Not everybody has to wait to come out and set up a 4-4-4 or a 3-4-4. If he gets out and he sees something, they may kick that 30 or 40 metre kick pass on the run to somebody, or maybe further out to someone stand still. So
yeah. Ronnie, stay with yourself there just quickly. We'll not spend too much time on this one. But the solo and go, obviously you were very smart. You were a smart footballer yourself, smart forward. It's something obviously I can imagine you doing something dynamic with this. But is that something that you want to see in the game? The solo and go. Do you think it's of any benefit at all?
I think it definitely will work. It definitely, for example, not even from a forward perspective, but if a forward is fouling a defender coming out.
Yeah.
And not just that slow, that tactical, cynical sort of not on a black card tackle, but just slowing a play down that defender can still build momentum and solo and go and get the team out and transition quickly. And then you'll see, forwards maybe getting fouled, maybe 30 metres out, and next thing, boom, they take a solo goal and they're trying to rattle the ball in the back of net. I know I would be in favour of it. I do think it speeds up the game and it helps us massively.
Yeah, I don't think there's much harm in it. Paddy, this is one I think it's going to irk you a wee bit. Like the advanced mark now, the new advanced mark obviously has to be caught inside the 20-metre line, but the old mark, Paddy, for a defender must have been a fucking nightmare. Like it must have been frustrating, because your natural instinct when a player gets the ball, the forwards caught the ball, they still have work to do, and you're not allowed to put a glove on him, and all of a sudden he takes the catch, you get a hand in, he hasn't put his hand up, you hear the whistle blowing, and it's a free in because you've made contact with him and you haven't given him his 4 steps. So it's impossible as a defender to defend against that.
Impossible. 100%. I had one in the semi-final against Kerry. It was Gainey caught a mark, but as he went to catch it, I put the fist in to try and break it at the same time. He falls over, ref gives a free and moves it up because he said that I went on top of him, whereas actually I was just competing for the ball, but I think the current rule, not the new one, it was difficult for defenders because you mark in front to try and stop that easy mark, ball over the top, you're in trouble. If you mark behind to try and prevent the ball over the top, then the mark's on. So it was difficult, but I think we've adapted to it in the last couple of years. The new mark, I wouldn't mind it if it was they catch the ball inside the 20 from a kick outside the 45, put their hand up and they want to take the free. Fair play to them. You know, that's a good skill. Doesn't happen too often. But Saturday showed again the issue with it, where Connacht got one, turned, went at goal, took the shot, and Neill Morgan pulls off a great save.
Yeah.
And there's no reward for it. You know, they go back out and they get a free kick and they chip it over. Like, imagine the Joe McElroy block in the All-Ireland final. Imagine that had been from a mark, he gets the block, and actually, well, Galway get another go here and they still get to chip it over. Like, it just it defeats the art of defending and the art of goalkeeping in some ways. You have to allow the forward to make the decision and stick with it, whether they're taking the mark or not, in my opinion.
I don't think there actually was any out-and-out marks, was there? There was very few that I can remember that were actually kicked from outside the 45 to 20 where, you know, the hamming up for the mark, like to claim the mark. Like, I don't think there was any, was there, over the weekend?
The Connacht one, they had that one where they went for goal, Niall saved it, and then
it was pulled back. Like,
yeah, they don't have to put their hand up now. So
yeah, it seems the advantage side of it, and I suppose staying on the advantage thing. Then Ultan, I think you were involved in this one. I think that there was a foul, and such a gentleman you are in the field, you handed the ball back. you just it's not. I've never seen you as nice as that now. But you rolled it back. You rolled it back to him, and the ball was moved in 50 meters because you didn't hand
it. Was that was actually Johnny Heaney, but it was me.
Oh, was it Johnny Heaney? Johnny Heaney.
It was me that was giving out. So don't worry.
All right, it was Johnny Heaney. Sorry, I thought it was you. But Ultan, like that's ultra frustrating. Like when you're 50 meters.
Like,
do
you know
it's
what?
open to interpretation, that one. Like, you know.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest gripe. I go in the actual gameplay rules. I think possibly go just reflection 3v3 and going back to the goalie or and the tap and go are probably all that's kind of needed. And maybe there wouldn't be one throw in. Like, I wouldn't be a fan of the scoring. Really, to be honest, the kick out and the mark, I do away with altogether. But my biggest gripe is probably with these descent rules. And as bad as that says, and it's, but there's part of me is I have a bit of sympathy here for referees as well, because a lot of this is grey, and referees, every referee in every top sport, they want to be anonymous, and that's how you judge a good referee. But bringing a ball 50 meters is just going to open them up for more slander and more abuse from supporters and stuff. And they're all pretty grey, like go and hand the ball to the next man or things like that. There's like another one which the captain can't speak to only the referee can speak to the captain. I think that's grand in rugby when everyone's in a tight proximity. But in Gaelic football, what if your captain's your corner forward or corner backs after fouling a fella? And referees like to talk to players and explain, because it gets them on side too. So little things like that I think are a bit much, and I think we're like, I know we're trying to get referees encouraged, but I actually think we're going the opposite way here now. We're making a lot of grey rules here and a lot of heavy punishments, which are going to open up the referees for abuse. Like holding a man up is going to be a black card now. A cynical hold up in the tackle, that's another grey area, like a really grey area, and that's a subjective call that they have to make, and they're not going to be 100% consistent on that because that's impossible. Like that's probably where I think they need to revise is these ones. They're great in theory, but like it's a bit much. I think it's a bit over the top. And there's another one I know. I think the FRC says it's not coming from them particularly, is the contact with the head. And obviously, look, it's a very serious matter, but they're probably getting that from rugby and soccer, where you've got TMO and VAR. We don't got that, and it's just going to encourage simulation. And I know that the thinking is right, but it's just not going to play out the way they think it is. So look, I think they need reflection on a lot of them rules, and I honestly think the referees would be in favour of reflection there too, because it's just opening up the doors for them to be chastised again.
That's interesting. And Ronnie, I'll take you in this. Like I was chatting to Paul Falloon during the week, and I know it's difficult to get a referee to come on to something like this, podcast, because refs are obviously very conscious of their what they say and how things are interpreted. But Paul made a very good point to me. I was just sort of saying to him, like, how did he find it from a referee's perspective? And he made the point to me that Stevie, he said, like, it's okay saying there's 7 rules, but there's not 7 rules. There's 7 core headings of different rules, but then within those rules, there's like
Exactly.
multiple little sort of sub rules. And he says all of a sudden it's open to interpretation. Like, it's the referee. He says the referee's interpretation. So, Niall Morgan hands a ball back to the player the other night, right? And that's grand. But like, if Niall Morgan just sits the ball on the ground, turns and sprints back to his goal, that's not cynical. Like, he's just sitting the ball down and moving away. Like Ultan's one there, we talked Johnny Heaney, where he rolls the ball back, was deemed, cynical, and it's moved forward 50 meters. Or, sorry, ref, what was that for? Bump 50 meters. You're going to have a lot of, like, from a coaching perspective, Ronnie, it's frustrating. Like, it was frustrating.
It is like in a lot of your games, maybe training now will be like, it might be messy for the first 6-7 weeks where you're going to be like, nitpicking from a coaching point. Like you say, we play in those games, you're just going to have to drill this into players as much if they come through, say, because again, you go to league games, they're worth 2 points. Do you want to make sure that somebody is not pissing off a referee or someone has handed the ball back right, which is bizarre to be fair, like, because you can get away with you should be able to get away with maybe just rolling the ball back or hand it to the referee. Them as we normally do, the ones where you throw the ball away 30 meters or you're kicking it away, yes, you can see that advantage of bringing it forward because it's slow and play down as much as we can. But I was saying this, we were chatting about this the weekend. Those referees have got a taste of it there now at the weekend. But you look at like the referees that are in the National League who won't get maybe the preseason competitions, who won't get maybe friendlies in January. Their first outing is the National League then in January, who haven't been tested the rules, and you're in the do or die whether you could be going for promotion or whether you could be going for relegation, and someone hasn't practiced the rules. It's going to be really, really irky in terms of like
for
you don't know what to
80%, for 80% only of counties, for 80% of counties, outside of the top 6 or 7 counties, really and truly, those that have a chance of winning a provincial title or an All Ireland, fine. There's very few of them, but for 80% of counties, the National League is their championship. It's their championship.
Oh, it is totally is, and players love playing National League because week on week, it cuts down the slogging in terms of during the middle of the week of for physical condition in terms of just recovering and playing again, recovering and playing again. So they are. So it's going to be do or die as well. Like, and yourself from our perspective from the sideline, sometimes you love to just chat to the linesman or love to chat to a fourth official saying, "What was this for?" Sometimes we go across the line, we do, or sometimes then you're trying to get inside them as well.
I don't know, Ronnie. I would never go across the line. I wouldn't know.
No, of course not. No, especially not in the heat of battle. But you don't know what way a ref or a linesman will take us, Stevie.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know whether he'll say he's been smart to me. I'm going to read in the day to give a golf here saying, Steven Poacher here has been smart to me on the sideline, where you may not be, but his interpretation, which again is mental. It's mental. So it is.
Well, lads, look, I really appreciate your time tonight. We're just going to finish quickly here, Paddy, and we'll run through this quickly, right? Give me what you would keep and what you would get rid of, just quickly. What would stay and what would you get rid of?
Keep the 3v3.
Okay.
Keep the throw up. Get rid of all the new scoring. Get rid of some of the descent rules. Get rid of the forward mark. Get rid of the kick out rule. Have I missed any?
Keeper.
Go.
The back
keeper. Yeah. No, I'd keep the pass back to keeper.
Yeah.
I think
Ultan.
I'd actually spot on. I'd agree fully there. I'd keep tap and go. I'd keep three up. I'd keep the 1v1 and I'd keep the goalie one. Although that goalie one may need tweaking. Neill Morgan, of course, he did take tolls with it Saturday night again. And showed the flaw in it. It ends up being
it's people like Neill. I think it's people like Neill that the FRC should be listening to.
That's absolutely it, and that's what we did. And in fairness to them, I think they were promoting the likes of Neill and Conor Carroll and Conor Gleeson. These lads try and pick holes in these rules because they need to know it as much as we do and going forward. But I'd get rid of them, and I'd say what Paddy said, and on all the descent and kind of bringing the ball 50 meters. I think they just need tweaking. I can understand the concept. In fairness. I'm not saying get rid. I'm not supporting abuse or dissent by any means, but just tweak them. I think the grand in theory, but they are going to open themselves up for a lot more hassle.
Yeah, Ronnie, would you be happy enough for the 3 up?
I would. I would have that. I would happy the solo and go. I would keep the advanced mark, but what I would do is once the advantage is gone in terms of he hits it wide or Paddy makes a diving block, that's gone. It's gone. Then there's no point going back to it because we can't be always thinking of a forward forward-thinking game. Do you know, we have to appreciate our defenders and how good defending is as well. Do you know as well? So
Yeah.
it's not often I say it, Paddy. So I'm into the coaching aspect now. There's two sides of it, lad.
Well,
So there is.
lads, thanks a million. But Ultan, you do know now why these rules were brought in, don't you? Because Ulster had a clean sweep, and you are just going.
Absolutely.
Sent Jim Gavin on a one-man mission to derail the pesky Nordies boy. But no, hey, listen, Ultan, all the best this year with Roscommon.
Yeah.
I know you have Mark on
Thanks,
board
David.
here. Mark's a brilliant coach, and I want to wish you all the best. And
appreciate that.
As well. And Paddy, well done on a brilliant year and with Armagh. And listen, lads, thanks very much, and really appreciate your time, man. And again, on behalf of DSS, lads, thanks a million. Thank you.
Thanks, lads. All the best, fellas.
Thanks, man. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
boys. Thank you.